Morning, guys, on this beautiful fresh morning in SA. It's about 7 degrees. Got an awesome sunrise coming up, and I wanted to crack on with our Stalking Shadows series. This one isn't a very fun, or let's put it this way, it's all about a reality experience, because the stuff that I've been sharing with you guys are pros and tips and how to avoid things, and giving you a better insight on my life and where I started and where I came to, and how I've managed the industry in itself. And this one is about the dreaded experience that can happen to an outfitter that no one ever wants to talk about, is that excuse me, that one client that doesn't pay you after a safari. And I experienced that, and this will just be more about how I managed to sort it out, or get through having not being paid after safari and left with massive amounts of debt. But I'm still here today. So we'll call the guy the Canadian, because I don't want to use names or anything like that. It happened way back when I traveled overseas to Canada to visit my sister, and this guy I went and visited with my wife now, Alex, and we spent 4 or 5 days with him in part of our trip and came back. I had hunted with him prior at another big factory farm. Again, I don't want to use names, where everything is just penned up and you shoot in this and this and this, when I was a young PH, and it wasn't what I wanted. So I did a season with them and I was out. I was looking for something more, and I'd already set up my company and I was working hard at selling the experiences I wanted to sell to clients. And he contacted me wanting to become part of my team. So Mark was already a big part of my team, and he'd gone out of his way building, or helping me build this company. And we had the cracker season. We went through the next year where you think you're going to bounce off the floor again, and you end up with a bowler and Cecil the Lion, and it slows everything down and it stops you from your momentum. We went into building the house, so we had our own accommodation now on the property, try and cut down on driving, selling that experience of hunting the low fenced areas. So we were building on making something special, and I needed somebody to talk me up in another country. Hey, Wayne's a great guy. So I never thought anything bad would ever happen. You kind of put yourself into that like false hope that nothing bad will ever happen. He was a great guy. I met his partner, hunted, and they all wanted to come out again. So at the time when I had thought of, okay, agents, the idea was, you book me so many people, I'll give you a discounted rate. Not like confirm, okay, let's do this, right? You pay, now I do it as well. If there's a confirmed paid booking, I'll give you 10%. So if you refer someone to me, he's paid. When you book, I will give you 10%. That's what I do now. Where before it was like, okay, you're going to bring me 6 guys. This is the reduction rate that I could do on his package. Rookie mistake. Don't ever do that, guys. So when I was there visiting, I visited a couple of other friends in Canada. We did meet and greets. He introduced me to a bunch of people, and he got me hooked on the fact that he was bringing 6 people. And the 6 people were coming, they were booked, they were coming. I never received their deposits, but I'd made his deal for him, and he quickly paid to have his deal. But when we got closer to the date of arrival, the number of people kept dwindling. So I'd already given him discount, complete discount for lots of species. And then when we dwindled the numbers down, all of a sudden they had one friend coming as an observer, a non-hunter. But anyway, needless to say, that was my mistake. We booked the hunt. The guys came and experienced it in our home. They were the first clients to come to our home. And the whole idea of this trip of his was that he was coming out to South Africa for a month. But he was only going to spend a week or 10 days with me. And then he was going to go up the garden route with his wife. And their buddy after the trip was heading back home. He was a truck driver from somewhere else. Anyway, so I picked the guys up from the airport. Everything was rolling. We had a great start to our trip. We shot beautiful big warthog. He had a bunch of things on his list. And then while he was here, he started adding as we were going along. So he shot a mountain reedbuck. He shot a blue wildebeest. I traveled him all the way to Thomas River from me, which is about a 3-hour drive, because he wanted a free range experience. He didn't want to hunt behind half fences. But again, keep this in mind, guys. Certain places like Eland and blue wildebeest and stuff like that, they all have to be behind half fences because they jump these low fences. And I did have free moving game, so Eland right up in Targestead Mountains, but the guy was not fit or mobile to do that hunt. His knees were stuffed. He had to walk with a cane. So the whole idea of doing a free range hunt with him, he was more suited to the factory farm that I talk about. And he'd done 3 trips there. You know, this was his 4th trip out with me, and he liked me. Well, that's what I thought, and wanted this experience. So in this whole experience, he got all his animals. There was nothing. There was no, he didn't get anything. We hunted hard. So he got all his animals. But the funny thing was, when we dropped his buddy off to go away, so I'd booked a chef for the time period that they were here. So I had a buddy of mine who's a cordon bleu chef, and he catered for us, and it was excellent. He went home, paid him, but dropped off their buddy at the airport. Now they were supposed to rent a car and head off, which they didn't. And this is where they caught me, because a lot of people say, but Wayne, why didn't you take deposits? I did take deposits. It was a small deposit for the first part of the trip. So what happened was they stayed longer, and I reduced their rate because they were just staying with me in the house, just to cover the rate that I gave them was just to cover the staff, the tracker, because now he said he wanted to carry on hunting. So I was, okay, that's cool. So we covered the tracker, we covered the ladies in the house to clean and tidy, and a few groceries. That was it. There was no money made for it in me. I was covering all the diesel, and we traveled, because now we've done the first part of the trip. Now we're traveling more. Now we're shooting more and more animals. So you can see what's happening here, guys. So what was supposed to have been only a week and a half has now become 4 weeks of me carrying all the expenses. So we finished up the hunt. Everything was done, and he was happy, and we did the final invoice. So this is prior to those fancy card machines. I didn't have Wi-Fi in my house and stuff like that. And I knew the guy. He'd paid me before he came out. I've known him for years. We chatted. But the funny thing, let me rewind a little bit to this. So when we pulled him onto our team, and I thought, okay, it's cool. I got Mark in America. I've got this guy in Canada. I can draw from 2 parts of the world. And he had organized a bear hunt for Mark and his family in Canada. Mark and his family went to Canada and hunted with him up there. And I messaged Mark afterwards, hey, how did it go? How'd the bear hunt go? And Mark's words, I'll never forget to me, was, Wayne, I'd rather spend my money in Africa than go and do a hunt with. So we left it at that. I thought everything was still sorted and we were fine. And the crazy part was now that Mike withdrew from the company, and I didn't know why he withdrew, but the reason why he withdrew is because of this guy. And that was quite a sad part for me in this whole thing. I think losing Mike affected me more than the thousands and hundreds of thousands of rands that this guy put me in debt, because I lost my connection to the States. I lost a good friend because of this guy. And at the time, you don't see all of this stuff. So we finish up this trip with this guy. I give him the invoice. The next morning, I load him up and his partner. His partner was carted all over the place by my wife to go do nails, to go and see stuff and everything. And that was paid for. But the biggest thing that he left me in debt with was the landowner's bills. Remember, you make the contacts, guys. You hunt the hunts. You receive the invoices. You pay 7 days later, 10 days later, end of the safari. You pay all your landowners. That's how I do it. Or when you hunt dangerous game, I myself now, I take big deposits now for dangerous game, because I have to, put a deposit down on those buff for the guys coming out. I make sure I do all those things and tick the boxes so I don't ever end up in the situation that I ended up in now. And this guy hops in the bakkie, travels all the way to East London. He was very chatty and jokey on the normal day, but this specific day, he was absolutely dead quiet. It was like sucking water out of a stone, making conversation with him. Dropped him over at the airport, said our goodbyes, and en route back, I still said to my wife, I was like, man, that was strange. That was a very interesting trip, because he seemed off. Had this gut feeling. Anyway, left it at that, got back, tidied up here, started paying landowners what I could. Those that are the money that had come in for, so I had some other big bills to sort out. Did my computer work, off to bed, and I'll never forget, my phone pinged at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and he must have landed in Toronto, and I got this massive email from him with the biggest load of rubbish under the sun, refusing to pay. And I was like, holy smokes, now what? Now, how do you sort this out? So I left it at that. We chat, try to make conversation to try and keep, you try and keep it amicable. You don't fight with the guy. You ask why. You try and figure out where did it all go wrong. Can you sort it out? Anyway, he refused to pay. But that's not the end of it. When I dropped his stuff off at the taxidermy, and I'd taken him to the taxidermy and stuff like that, he had mentioned to the taxidermist that he wasn't going to pay me. And now this is where the industry is a bit of a kick in the teeth. The taxidermist was a friend of mine, and I would expect a friend of mine to pick up the phone and tell me or message me, hey, this bloke says he's going to shift you. Make sure he doesn't. But the guy didn't. So when I contacted the taxidermist to say, right, bud, have you been paid? Because now I don't want my friend to be shifted. He tells me he's been paid in full. So, and I said, well, that's strange because the oak hasn't paid me. I said, well, anyway, those trophies are mine. I've paid for them. I've had to pay the landowner and sink myself in hundreds of thousands of rand. I'm not going to give you the pink slip for export because I want to try and push this guy to pay me back. And then I can give you the pink slip and you can send the stuff. But anyway, he's paid you in full. Mount the stuff. You give me my commission on the mounting the animals. And he agreed to all of this. Sorry, guys. So he agreed to all of this. And what happened was, somewhere along the line, I don't know where, he got a bit of pressure, and I'm going, yes, bud, I've gone and sunk myself now. I'm in such debt. I've covered all my landowners. Now my every day-to-day expenses I cannot afford. I cannot afford my pickup. I cannot pay my staff. But please pay me my box fee, basically my commission on the trophies, so I can keep my head above water, so I can keep putting pressure on this guy to pay. And he agreed on that. And then he turned around later and said to me, no, he's not going to do that. He doesn't feel right. I'm like, but he's paid you in full. His trophies are going to sit there and wait for him. Nothing's going to happen. Once he's paid me in full, I'll give you the pink slip and cheers, the trophies go. And I'd spoken to a lawyer, and that was the only hold I could have. And because he was from Canada, I'd have to get him out here to sue him, and he'd have to get me there to sue him. So it's a massive mess up in trying to get your money back. And I'm a Mickey Mouse. I didn't have the money to do that, especially now after him sinking me. So in the end, I folded because I needed to pay my staff. They got families and stuff to pay. I needed to pay my bakkie. I had to sell my truck to keep my head above water so I don't end up in bad credit debt. So I sold all of that stuff. I folded and I gave the taxidermist the pink slip. And then he still took 3 months to give me my commission. So in the end, it still messed me up. I should have just hung on to the pink slip and never sent that stuff because it took so long. By then, I think I had to ask my brother to bail me out on a few things. I had to ask my folks to bail me out on a few things. And lucky for them that they were there to support me to keep my head above water. Otherwise, I would have been completely, I'll put it this way, I was in complete debt already. But it just helped me pay the debt and keep above water. I was doing handyman jobs for my brother's wife. She's got a little school. So, and he may help me tick over, and I got rid of my big expenses. But this is the part of the industry that people don't want to talk about. It's a scary situation to be in. And unfortunately, I reported the guy to Nature Conservation. I reported him where you can report him. But at the end of the day, there's nothing to protect the outfitter when it comes to a situation like this. There really is nothing. And all I had to do was be a big boy, take the punch, learn from the mistakes. I had to slow down my booking of clients because obviously now I'm sitting in financial, and I had to find a job. So I had to go find a job in Port Elizabeth. I left the farm to try and pay off my debt. But the best thing I ever did, guys, was I made sure I had paid all my landowners. So to this day, I have a great respect from the landowners that I paid then to make sure that I never owed anyone money. I may have owed the banks money, but I paid that off as I went along. But the crazy part about this whole situation, the amount of money that he sunk me, took me 5 years to pay that debt off in full. And it was the toughest 5 years that I've had to do, because I still did my hunting slowly. I took freelance jobs for a fraction of the price that I was getting paid as an outfitter. And then again, you're an outfitter, people have seen what you're doing, and then you still sit in this situation where other outfitters don't want to book you. So it is a tough one. And I said, I took jobs at the time, I think I was getting paid $500 a day. But I needed to do those jobs to get my head above water. I needed to make those little dollars to keep paying back the debt. And I think what I can tell people out of this scenario and what actually happened is, it's great to be friendly and be giving and thing. But at the end of the day, guys, remember, you're running a business. As much as you like that guy on the other end, business is business, friendship is friendship. If there's a true person that's coming out to hand with you, he will understand that. So when you quote him, you quote him. It's not like, oh, Wayne, shave me a couple $100 off. At the end of the day, I've got staff to pay, I've got family to feed, I've got landowners to pay to make this experience what you are getting. So I think just keep your eyes open to those that are always asking for cuts. Make sure I've got a card machine, guys. Best investment I ever did was have the card machine. Guys pay in full before I drop them off at the airport, and I don't sell packages anymore. You pay for your day rate and you hunt your species and you pay for what you get at the end of it. I think those are the best tips I can give anyone who wants to go into being an outfitter. So if you're enjoying these, guys, hit the like and subscribe button. Drop a comment below. And I'm open to answering as many questions as you want. So anything hunting related, I will answer it. So till later, guys. Cheers.